welcome to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
I'm Liz.
And I won't stop the bad puns from coming.
Wow.
I hear you all, and you did not like that Starfield bad pun. Well, guess what?
Welcome to my life.
Boom. Just to let you in on a little insight about me. Yes, I was born and raised in Philadelphia, but when my parents divorced, me and my mom lived with my grandparents in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Not Philadelphia.
The suburbs.
It
So
was not the suburbs of Philadelphia. It was not Philadelphia.
well, that's what a suburb means. It's the suburban. It's outside. So it's outside of Philadelphia. It's the suburbs, right? And I spent my formative years between the ages of 2 to around 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah.
with the majority of my time being in the suburbs. So guess what? I'm a Philly boy, but I'm also a white suburban kid. So the bad puns are on their way.
Yeah. You also went to private school for a long time.
I also went to private school for a long time. That's true. Bad puns are coming, people. But so, usually this is the point in the show where I ask Liz, how you doing? However, I already know how both of our weeks have gone.
I mean, you always know how my week's been. But
Well, that's true because we live in the same house also.
Because we're married.
We're married. That's true. But
Anyway.
But our week was a little bit on the rougher side.
A little bit more stressful than usual.
Yeah, so I put on Twitter on at Ace the Grocer.
Nice plug.
Thank you. That I'm sorry if I have seemed a little off this week. Usually I handle things in my youth ministry pretty well, but there was a lot of things just piled onto me. In the terms of a few kids reached out to me with some emotional distresses, which I'm fine with, and I will help them with.
Yeah.
But it was like, one too many.
Yeah.
And I usually take those stresses home with me, and I'm just like,
worry about them and stuff.
yeah. So it was just like one too many kids. I was like, man, this is a rough week for everybody. And on top of that, there was like some things I'm trying to plan out, getting things rolling. And a person, I'm not going to just mention, a person came in, not going to say their position or who they are, apparent, came into my office and reamed me for the job I'm doing, even though I've, grown the youth ministry, and all that, and told me that I should probably quit my job.
Yeah.
Because I look tired. So that's cool. Thanks for that. And it was just, I say this in a funny tone. It's because I'm over it at this point, but, just.
It takes an emotional toll.
Yeah. So if we have seemed a little off on Twitter, it's just because, Liz is a part of this too. Whenever I come home, she sees it too, and she feels for me. And she's had a rough week too, she works in a CPA office, and
I've had a rough 2 months.
yeah.
Guys, it's next Monday.
Yeah.
Next Monday is tax day, and my life goes back to normal, and maybe I'll go back on Twitter, because honestly, you say, oh, sorry if we seem off on Twitter. I haven't even been on Twitter for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really do anything. I follow people back, but other than that, I don't even have the motivation to write anything. I haven't written anything in my book for over a month.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a stressful tax season, and I can't wait for it to be over and go on vacation. I'm so ready for vacation.
So this week in particular, I think, was just a lot for both of us.
It's just been a lot.
But what's good about our marriage is just that we're there for each other. We've been through a lot together over the past over 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad I have her, and just to be cute. But yeah, and we say this for two reasons. Two reasons we say this. One, we want this podcast to be very authentic. We don't want you to meet us somewhere like, oh, that's Adam and Liz from Games and Groceries. And you just find a different person.
Yeah.
So we want to give you that authentic personality.
So that if you meet us and we seem stressed, you'll know, oh, well, they both have anxiety problems, so they're probably just stressed out.
The second
We'll do our best for you, though.
Yeah. So the second reason is that going into our first segment, movie minutes, going into our first segment about Shazam, I feel like we gave it a lower rating. Now, we'll get to the rating later, but I feel like we gave it a lower rating because we saw this at the end of our stressful week
and we barely got it in the schedule to go see it too.
Yeah. And leading into a really long weekend for us. So just keep that in mind, that don't think that our rating is like the supreme rating. There's a lot of people who really like this movie, but we're going to give our points about Shazam. But just to give you that kind of clarity that like, okay, they just had a stressful week. Maybe they didn't click with it enough.
Yeah.
But before we get into our first segment, I just want to give some shout outs. First of all, follow us on social media. I promise I'm going to be much more active on Twitter this week. Hopefully nothing happens. Probably something will. But you can follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries. You can follow us. We'll share the gaming news and what's going on. Or you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
So you can follow us individually on Twitter and share your thoughts with us and just hang out with us on Twitter pretty much. Also follow us on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. We share behind the scenes photos. I share gaming memes on there. So if you want to have a good time, also go to Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. And definitely check out our website, gamesandgroceries.com. You can actually listen to our podcast through gamesandgroceries.com. There's a really awesome web player on there. And we're trying to redesign the website so it looks even cooler. RadioPublic's doing like a lot with the website.
Awesome.
Yeah. So definitely check out that. I write articles on there. You can read up on those. Tried to write an article this week, but couldn't. But yeah, definitely check out gamesandgroceries.com. And finally, we just want to give a final shout out to our boy, Absolute Prodigy. We give him a shout out every single episode just because we believe in him. We love what he's doing on Twitch. So definitely check him out. Absolute Prodigy on Twitch. This is also a kick in the keister for him to get back on Twitch. But I'm sure he's stressed out too. But yeah, definitely follow him. Absolute Prodigy. Go give him some love too. I think that's the last of the shout outs, right?
I believe so.
Awesome. So without further ado, let's bring back the good energy here. We don't mean to bring you down with our horrible week, but let's bring back the good energy with our...
Wow.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Let's go into our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment where we talk about the movies that we saw this week, whether it be on Netflix. We just got Hulu, by the way, so we're going to add that in the mix. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, or in theaters in this case. And we like to talk about the movies that we saw, whether we recommend them or don't recommend them, or if it's a waste of time or not a waste of time. So this week's movie, as I said before, is the movie Shazam.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts. Go.
Well, I was really excited to see this movie. I thought it looked really funny. I'm not a big fan of DC movies.
Yeah.
At all. I do like Smallville. But other than that, I'm not a big DC person.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was excited to see this movie was a big deal. But I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was still funny, and it was a good story.
Yeah.
Especially since I knew nothing about Shazam. Like, I literally know nothing. I've never heard of Shazam until this movie came out.
Right on.
I think most of my disappointment came from the fact that it's based in Philly.
Yeah.
This, the kid that is Shazam is
in Philly.
Is from Philadelphia. They live in Philadelphia. But they didn't even try to make it look like Philadelphia. Like, it's so easy to do. Like, there's a scene on the train.
On the L, yeah.
Yeah, on the L, but no one knows what that is. I said train. But on the L, and literally they didn't even try to make it look like the L. Like, they literally just slapped Frankfurt Market line maps on there and called it the L.
Now, keep in mind, we haven't been on the L in like a couple years.
Honey, they didn't redo the L's. They didn't change the color of the L's. They've always been blue.
Okay. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, maybe they did and we just don't know. Okay.
They didn't.
Okay.
We were just on it last year.
We were?
To go to the Eagles parade.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
And I still follow everyone from Philly. I would have seen an article that they're wasting a ton of money to redesign the L stuff.
Yeah.
Besides, they wouldn't get all new cars that were bigger.
Yeah, true.
The L's that they used in this movie were much more spacious than the actual L. They were red and they were plastic cushions.
Now,
it's all wrong.
Also,
it really drives me crazy.
Now, also keep in mind that you're coming into this as a Philadelphia person, not as a moviegoer.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I know that that's because I'm from Philly, and I used to take the L every day home from school in 8th grade.
And it's only one scene on the L.
I know, and I know it's I'm really hindering on it, but it's such an easy thing to do. You literally couldn't. They didn't even try to make it look like the L. For the people from Philly, if you know anything about Philadelphians, we'll go see anything if Philadelphia's in it.
Yeah.
So you know how many Philadelphians are gonna go see this movie.
Yeah.
And you didn't even try to make it look like Philly. Literally, the only thing they did in Philly was show the William Penn statue.
And Love Park, which isn't there anymore.
I don't even remember that being there.
Yeah.
I barely remember seeing that. I remember the flash seeing of it, but that's it. But other than that, I just feel like they didn't try as hard as they didn't do as well as they could have to make it Philly. They could have, I don't know. I'm a little upset.
So, I mean, you're right that so a problem that we really had with the setting of Philadelphia is that it's fine if it's we're based in Philadelphia, but you'll watch the movie and sometimes you'll see the Philly pride and then other times it's totally ignored.
Yeah.
You can't have one or the other, right? And there's some things that Philadelphia has a lot of character behind it, and it wasn't utilized in the way that I think the director pictured.
Yeah.
And there's some things that, I don't know, it just felt like, okay, sometimes we're going to remind you that we're in Philly, and then other times we're not going to remind you that we're in Philly. And I feel like with a movie like Shazam, now, again, I don't know the comics. Maybe Philadelphia is a huge part in Shazam comics.
Yeah, but they didn't portray that in the movie.
But, yeah, it just felt like it didn't need to be specifically Philadelphia.
Yeah, they could have just said he lives in a city, because honestly, most of the movie, I forgot it was supposed to be Philly.
Yeah. So that's our personal gripe. Keep that in mind.
That's personal, but that also went into my score.
But I think this was a fresh take on the superhero genre, where it's very lighthearted, less brooding. It was just a really fun. It was just a really fun movie to watch,
Yeah.
And I know there's some Marvel movies, and I know this is DCEU. But at the same time, with the DC movies, they've been very dark and brooding and brr. But this is a whole new step, right? Aquaman did this, where it was very lighthearted. But this one is just it's really taking those steps to really change the genre up. So I think it was a new breath of fresh air in that way. Would you say so?
Yes. I don't know, but it also didn't really feel like a superhero movie to me.
No.
It was also kind of predictable in a way.
Yeah, so the ending was a bit predictable, but at the same time I was satisfied with it.
Well, not even the ending. It was mostly the middle parts, with the
second act?
friend. Yeah. Mm-hmm. After he got his powers, it was a little predictable.
Yeah. And
I don't know. I like the craziness and drama in superhero movies. That's I know you're oh, it's a fresh take on superhero, but you watch a superhero movie for a reason.
Yeah.
You watch it for the genre, and the way they changed it wasn't enough for me to convince me it was still a superhero movie.
I don't think it was predictive more than it was tropey.
Yeah.
There was a lot of teenage movie tropes in it. The bullies come in and the nerds take over the bullies. There's a lot of tropes with this movie where it's a fresh take, but also they take scenes from other movies. It wasn't a fresh take in the way of directional pattern.
It felt very it reminded me of early 2000, the Pacifier type of movie.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know why, but I just keep thinking
like a family comedy.
Yeah, more like that, where it's it's all predictable, but it's funny. It's cute funny.
Yeah.
It was like that.
That's the other thing. Before we went into this, I watched a lot of reviews about this. I read a lot of reviews. And everybody, well, yeah. But I wanted to see what other people think about this movie. And everybody was just this is so funny. The whole time I was laughing. It's so great. I don't know. Maybe it was because we had a rough week.
Maybe we need to go see it again.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe it's because we had a rough week. Maybe I'm not getting things. But at the same time, we still had a theater, pretty decently filled. and nobody was really.
Yeah, I didn't even hear other people.
Yeah, like nobody was really reacting to the movie. And I'm not trying to say that it's not funny, but I'm not trying to. I'm also trying to say that like it wasn't the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. You know?
Yeah.
Like it was funny. It had its humor, but don't go into it seeing like you're gonna like burst your ribs.
Yeah.
You know, it's again, the comedy's very lighthearted. It makes you feel good. It's a good comedy movie. It's a good, like you said, I think it's a good family comedy.
Yeah.
You know, now the one thing I wanted to point out, the CGI is rough. Like,
yeah, a little.
I'm not gonna say what's CGI because it's kind of a spoiler, but the characters that are CGI'd, it's rough.
Yeah, there are times that it's really good, and then there are times where I'm just like, ugh.
There's times where I'm just like, am I watching Ghostbusters?
Yeah, like it was like, oh, that was bad.
Yeah. And I understand that this is in Disney funds, but this is still WB funds, you know?
Yeah.
It's still 2019.
And I'm on the theory of if you can't afford it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like in these times where movies are so up there and so cinematic, like visually amazing, if you can't afford to make it visually amazing or appropriate, don't do it. Wait until you have the funds to make Shazam. Don't just make Shazam because you need to compete with Marvel.
So let's go into our final ratings. We both gave it, I asked you, like, what would you give it? And I actually had the same exact ratings you did.
Yeah.
We both gave it a 7.5.
Yeah.
So again, in our scale, between a 7 and an 8, a 7 is a decent movie and an 8 is a solid movie.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. It's between like a decent movie, like it's fine, and it's a solid movie. I still think it was well worth our time. It wasn't a waste of time to watch this. But again, it didn't blow our minds. It wasn't an 8 or a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
You know. What do you think? Why did you give it a 7.5?
Partially because of the Philly stuff, and partially. Yes, I told you that went into my rating. I'm very upset.
You're very upset specifically about the L.
I know. I think I honestly, because I took the L so much between middle school and high school. Like I lived half my life on the L.
Yeah.
I know what it looks like, and I just feel like it's just not that hard. Even to take a train from another movie and customize it, like it's just not that hard.
Is there any other reason besides the L?
Yes, I said partially.
Yeah, but like.
When you interrupted.
I know. But you just really hated the L.
I really did. I did.
Yeah.
It's just not that hard. But partially because of the Philadelphia stuff, and partially because I expected it to be a lot funnier, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wasn't going into it thinking it was going to be a family comedy. I thought it was going to be a superhero movie.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It just seemed like a very easy movie.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't seem like it took that much thought. You know, like, it just seems like they wrote it. They're like, oh, look, a superhero movie.
Right.
And they didn't take that much thought or effort into it.
Yeah. I think I gave it a 7.5 because in the same way of you, I thought I was going to go into a movie. I was going to, like, bust me out laughing. Yeah, it was just too lighthearted for me, and I don't think it...
Yeah, and you're not even that into family movies, usually.
I don't like feeling good.
I have to, like, beg you to watch them with me. He hasn't seen Instant Family yet, and neither have I, and I really, 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 really want to see it.
I don't like feeling good. But but that's the thing, like, but it had a satisfying ending, nothing mind-blowing, and it left you feeling with good terms. The post-credit and the mid-credit scene were fine. But I gave it a 7.5 because it wasn't horrible. I felt like I came out of it like Captain Marvel. You know, it wasn't phenomenal, but it wasn't even above
terrible.
It wasn't terrible. It was even way, way above average.
Yeah.
So I don't think it wasted our time. It's a fine movie. I think you should go see it. And take our reviews with a grain of salt because, again, we had a rough week. We had a long week. So maybe that played into it. So keep that in mind as well. You could give it a 9 or 10, and we totally respect that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good time to go right into our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw this week, and we rank it 3, 2, 1 just to keep you informed about what happened in the gaming industry in the past week. And let's just start off with the number 3, and I am so excited for this.
Oh, dear.
This is, if you could define what would be my perfect game, everybody kept asking me that, like, oh, Adam, like, what would be your perfect game? I'm like, I don't know. And then there's a teaser in the Division 2, and once this teaser came out, I was like, yeah, that's my perfect game. So there, Ubisoft left a tease in Division 2 about the next Assassin's Creed game, and it's about Vikings, baby. Let's go! So YouTuber, okay, I'm sorry if I mispronounced this name, Your Raptor, found images of a Norse god, and the poster had Valhalla written on it. And this Norse god, or this Viking warrior, was holding what was the Apple of Eden. Very much so into the Assassin's Creed lore. And it had Valhalla on it. And Kotaku confirmed this. There were some people on Twitter where it said, like, okay, here's some leaks. The next Assassin's Creed game will be in Rome, and the next Watch Dogs 3 will be based in London. Jason Schreier, I remember, said, like, oh, well, one of those things is wrong. And it was the Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs 3 indeed is being based in London. And once this Jor Raptor came out, Jason Schreier said, that one is correct. And he said, like, there's 2 independent sources that came to Kotaku and revealed that the next one will be based around Vikings. And the project is codenamed Kingdom and will most likely release in late 2020. Isn't this awesome?
It is. I'm actually very excited for it because we both really like Vikings.
Our dog is named after a Viking.
It is named after a Viking. And if we ever have a son, his middle name is a Viking name, isn't it? Or no, that's just Hungarian, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I want to name him Ragnar, but
that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
that's just mean.
But yeah, our dog is named Floki. He's named after Hrafnar Floki Vilgardarsson, the Viking who sailed to, discovered, and named the country of Iceland.
And we really like the show Vikings. Like, we love Vikings. We think they're very interesting. If you have any museum suggestions, please let us know.
Yeah, please.
That would be so awesome.
Besides in Norway, like in America.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to go to Norway. But anyway, moving on. But we really love Vikings, so that's really interesting. I can't wait to watch you play that. The only thing is, what our listeners don't know is that Adam has these phases. He goes through phases a lot.
Yeah.
And he's been through the mob phase.
Oh, the Italian mafia.
Where it's not just like where he watches these things and does them a lot. He talks like them all the time.
What, you think he's some kind of smart guy or something like that?
He said wise guy so much when he was going through his mob phase. And then when Assassin's Creed Pirates came out.
Oh, yeah, the Black Flag.
Adam was talking like a pirate and acted like a pirate. And so now I'm just really, really worried about when this Viking one comes out. Because he already does it when we're watching Vikings. But now if we're watching Vikings and he's playing as a Viking for a long period of time, pray for me, guys. Because I might kill him.
They think I'm 28, but I'm actually a child.
I know, dear.
But that's the thing. Assassin's Creed is my favorite game franchise ever. Don't at me. That's just who I am. But I've loved it since the beginning. I still remember when it came out in 2007, and I loved the game so much that, like, I would constantly go to my mom like, oh, I'm sick, I can't go to school. And I figured out my mom actually knew this. This is how awesome my mom is. She knew I was faking, but she knew the reason why I was faking, and she let me, like, play Assassin's Creed.
That's the other thing. When you play Assassin's Creed, like when you play the Ezio collection, talks in an Italian accent all day. All day.
I'm so offensive. But the Assassin's Creed series is my favorite, my favorite, I don't know, Viking, like, group people, I guess. Historical group of people, I guess. Sure. Why not? But Vikings...
Time period.
Yeah, my time period. But I just find the subject so fascinating, and how they survived and who they looted. There's a lot in Viking culture that is actually in Western culture today, but more on that later. But
we'll have a whole separate podcast for our obsession of Vikings.
But when this released, I still, like, I answered the question, Adam, what's your perfect game? Assassin's Creed Vikings.
Yeah,
that's
like
my perfect game.
Really, they better do it well, because I think if they do it bad, you're going to cry.
Yeah, because I was not a fan of Odyssey. at all. But I don't like the team that developed. I did not like Syndicate.
Yeah.
I did not like Odyssey. If it's by Ashmael, oh man, I forgot his name. I'm so sorry, but the man who did Black Flag and
Yeah.
Origins.
Your favorite?
Yeah. Man, I feel so embarrassed that I don't remember his name. Anyways, but if he develops it, like, game over, people. Like, that's gonna be my game. But that's coming out in late 2020. I think that's a good time to release it. That will be when the next generation of consoles come out. So
Christmas, your birthday.
ooh, yeah. But this is my type of game, Assassin's Creed Vikings. So I'm super stoked about this.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the number 2 gaming news.
Yeah.
Before
we just keep talking about Vikings, like
it's gonna be
seriously,
so
we
good.
love Vikings.
Oh man, the possibilities behind this. But anyways, the number 2 gaming news, Prince Harry, everybody. Okay, so I have probably an unpopular opinion about this next gaming topic, but Prince Harry wants Fortnite banned, calling the game design irresponsible. This is coming from an interview on BBC where Prince Harry expressed that Fortnite is too addictive for young kids. He said it's created to addict, an addiction to keep you in front of your computer for as long as possible. The game design is irresponsible. However, back in 2013, Harry did credit some of his skills in the Apache Gunner to video game controls, and people are just like, hey, man, I think you're missing the point here. You said that gaming helped you, but now you're saying games are bad. Unpopular opinion time. I think that Prince Harry has a point. Okay. Now, before you get your pitchforks out, I'm sorry, people, but I work with teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with teenagers in the time where Fortnite was in a rampant
Like
growth.
when it first started.
And some of my kids cannot stop talking about Fortnite. They do the Fortnite dances. I know a kid who spent over $300 on Fortnite, but that's all they ever do. They just sit and they play Fortnite. They don't play any other game, just Fortnite. And Prince Harry has a point here that it's created to addict, and I think that's exactly what the game design is supposed to do.
Yeah.
The whole point of Battle Royale is one more game, one more game, one more game, one more game.
Yeah.
So I think he does have a point here, but I understand why people are kind of upset at Prince Harry, because it goes back to game addiction. You know, it's like, oh, well, games are an addiction.
Yeah.
You know? But what he's saying about specifically Fortnite, not video games, he said specifically Fortnite, he wants banned. What do you think about this?
I just want to point out, I think it's very funny that suddenly he feels the need to attack Fortnite. He's been a dad for like a couple months.
Yeah.
Like his son's not even 1 yet, and he's just like suddenly getting all this. I just thought that was funny.
Well, no, he said this before. He said this 2016. He said he went to a school of kids and they all played Fortnite.
Yeah.
And he's like, you really shouldn't play that. So he did express this before.
I agree with where you said like yeah, it is designed that way, and our kids are very obsessed with it. Like, it's hard to get our kids off of really any games.
Yeah. There's one specific kid in mind, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing to keep in mind is that that's kind of the goal of any game.
Mm-hmm. To keep you focused on it.
Focused on it. They want you to play it. They want you to spend money on it. Like, especially games like that. Like, not so much sometimes the RPGs, but like other than the ones that have a clear-cut storyline that you're following, like there's no like, oh, one more.
Yeah.
But the games like that where it's like Fortnite and Super Smash and even the games that when we were growing up, like Mario and things like that, they're designed to keep you going and keep playing. They want you to keep playing it.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree with him, but at the same time, that's kind of their entire goal. They want kids to love these games so that they buy other games. And especially these days, since they're all online, you can download extra content. You can buy new things. So the longer you play, the more you want to buy stuff to enhance your experience.
Yeah.
So while I agree with him, I think he's kind of missing the point that, like, that's the whole point of it. The entire company's goal is to get them to continue playing.
Now, I want to make one last point on this. I was talking with one of my students. We were driving to the YFC banquet. And we were talking with him, and I was like saying like there's these studies out there that kids his generation tend not to smoke as much as our generation, don't drink as much. They're not even having as much sex as our generation. And immediately this kid says, well, yeah, it's because we have video games.
Yeah.
And then I pointed out like, well, no, our generation had video games.
Not
and
like this.
Yeah. And that's when I like corrected myself. I'm like, but we didn't have generally games as a service. Like we had World of Warcraft, but games today are designed as games as a service to keep you, just like what Prince Harry said. It's an addiction to keep you in front of your computer for as long as possible. And what this student's point was that, yeah, we're not going out there to buy cigarettes because we're inside playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so there is some good to it. And I understand like where Prince Harry is coming in, like it's an addiction, but they could be addicted to worse.
Yeah. It goes back to that mentality of like, I remember growing up, my mom sometimes complained that my sisters and I stayed in so much that we weren't, like my sisters went out sometimes, but it's like the big thing with us was that like, you know, we could be out there with our other classmates. Like we grew up in Philadelphia, like we could have been out there partying, doing drugs, drinking, like we could have been doing all those things.
Right.
But her biggest complaint about me and my sisters is that we stayed home a lot.
Yeah.
Like it could be worse. So yeah, your kid might be playing video games all the time and not go outside and play basketball or not go outside, but you don't know what he's doing outside when he's walking around the neighborhood with his friends. Like,
yeah,
it's better that they're in your living room or in their bedroom playing, you know, Fortnite, still talking to his friends, playing Fortnite than being out there smoking or drinking or doing God knows what.
No, there was one time where I was at band practice and like someone just came to the garage. Like this just ended up being the best night of my life. We didn't get in serious trouble, but you know, they stopped us like, hey, it just started with, hey, you want to go to Chili's? And then I woke up the next morning in front of my drummer's garage.
Yeah, and I ever asked you, I'm like, did your mom know where you were? He's like, I don't know. Did your mom know where you woke up? I don't know. Like, his mom literally might not. I'm going to ask her when we go see her next. But she, for as far as we know, she has no idea where her teenage son was that whole night.
It was a different time.
It was not a different time.
So I think let's just jump right into, because again, just like number 3, we can talk about this forever. Yeah. Which our number 1, we can talk about.
We could literally all 3 of these today. We could talk about for the whole episode.
Number 1, Jason Schreier, man, he was on fire this week.
Yeah, but that was a long article.
It took me
like an hour and a half to read.
Jason Schreier writes a massive article exposing the real issues of Anthem. Now, whenever I generally write notes about this, I only give like 3 points, and I only gave 3 points for the first half, and I couldn't write anymore, but there's so many more points. But developers were unsure about the flying mechanics. They said maybe we can climb around, but they had to change the landscape of the world constantly throughout development. For 5 years, from 2012 to 2017, the game had a lack of vision, clarity, and direction. And Andromeda was still coming, so they were worried about Andromeda. In 2017, finally, after 5 years of just pretty much screwing around, they threw together a pretty demo for the EA CEO, like the heads up. They just threw together something that looked pretty for EA CEO at the time, Patrick Sunderland. And he's like, oh, this is great. And that's what was shown at E3 2017.
Yeah.
And that was the first time developers saw this and like, oh, that's the game we're making? And there's just so much more. Please read the article. Please read the article. Liz, what were your thoughts about it?
It was so long.
Well, yeah.
No, but it was shocking.
Yeah.
And really, there's no one to blame.
Yeah, no.
Like, really, it was no one's fault. They all were doing their job, sort of. The part where they're like, oh, it's the magic of...
Oh, yeah, BioWare magic.
I was like, you really shouldn't depend on the fact that your team always seems to pull stuff together.
Yeah.
That shouldn't... Like, I'm even, like, at jobs that I've done or with, like, my tech groups, it's never good to depend on it possibly all coming together. It's nice that it does, like, sometimes you guys do it, but you should not be working the entire job depending on that magic. Like, that's not how it should work. Other than that, I don't see it being anyone's specific fault.
I think it's BioWare's upper management.
Yeah.
And here's
EA gave them a game, like, hey, do this game.
Mhm.
They didn't work on it for 5 years.
5 years.
They
What?
kept saying, like, oh, it'll happen, and they kept not. And they said, like, no one was making a decision. No one was willing to stand up and say, this is what we're doing, go make it.
Yeah.
Like, it's your whole job. Like, it's your entire job to say, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You guys, you do this, you do this, you do this. Like,
Yeah.
it's someone, like, it's your job. Like,
That's
do
poor
it.
management.
It is. It's poor management. And they had, what, 3 different directors on this one game throughout the entire...
3 or 4, something like that. Yeah.
Like, one guy was there, and then he got moved to another game, and then another guy came in, and he quit, and another guy came in, and it was insane. So, it was chaotic.
I think this article really puts to light not only the gaming industry, but what happens when you have bad management, period.
Yeah.
Bad management to any industry. Now, a lot of people are kind of like aggressive towards Jason, like saying like, especially BioWare, they put out a statement saying that like, oh, you know, we don't like it when you attack one person.
Yeah.
These articles come out to say like, this isn't right. Don't treat your people like this.
Like the fact that people were...
They took stress leaves, man.
For months.
Month-long
straight. He said some people just didn't even come back. They left and they never came back.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
It's insane. That's not how things should be anywhere.
Yeah. BioWare magic, people.
Yeah.
And yeah, the most shocking thing to me is that like it wasn't EA's faults.
No.
Like the fact when it came to the point where it was talking about 5 years and they had nothing, like EA, you know, BioWare went to EA. It's like, hey, we have a game. In 2012, they came like, oh, we have this game idea. EA said, okay, here's the funds. 5 years later, they come back. Not 6 months, not a year, right? Where, okay, that's a little pushy. But they had 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about that. In 5 years. So I'm 28 now. I was 23. So, like, think about, like, from the age of 23 to 28, and you gave me, I don't care what project it is. It could be, like, Adam, design a video game. And in 5 years, I should have at least something.
Yeah.
Just me. This is a whole development team.
Yeah.
This is BioWare. And when EA came to BioWare's door, knock, knock, how's your game going? Oh, yeah, about that. There's so much more we can talk about with this article, including how BioWare Edmonton and BioWare Austin were at war with each other.
Yeah.
Please read this article. I know it's a long one. Like, it's so long that I don't like to read things on computers, so I was about to print it out. So I copy and pasted it onto Word, and it ended up being 40 pages, and I'm not going to print out 40 pages worth of ink.
Yeah.
So it was 40 pages on Word.
And I read it on my phone, which took even longer.
Yeah. But please read this article. It really puts the lights on what the gaming industry goes through and why you should be demanding more of upper management, not developers, but upper management.
Yeah.
Because even developers like went up to management like, hey, we shouldn't be doing this. And upper management's like, no, or they just straight up ignored them. So I don't want to get up any more of this. But this was just a super shocking article, and it was so well written.
Yeah.
I know we trope on Jason Schreier a lot, but when he does something right, he really does something right. Also read his book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, because it blew my mind. And this article felt like a chapter from Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. So, wowie, wow, wow, wow. Wowie, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So just to sum up, the top 3 gaming news from this week is Ubisoft left a tease in Division 2 about the next Assassin's Creed being about Vikings.
Woo.
Prince Harry said that Fortnite should be banned, calling the game design irresponsible, which I tend to agree with, but that's not up to him. And Jason Schreier writes this massive article exposing the real issues behind Anthem. So if you're a fan of Anthem and you're just wondering what happened, go read this article. Just Google Kotaku Anthem. Boom, you're there. And look for the longest article on the page. So I think that does it for top 3 gaming news. Let's just jump right into our
Hockey time.
So every single week, we like to take a topic or a question about the gaming industry and just talk about it with you guys like we're at a coffee table or whatever we're at. This isn't a coffee table. This is more like a kitchen table that we're...
It is a kitchen table. We got it out of our kitchen in our old house. Then I painted it.
Yeah. Kitchen table. So this is our talkie time, and we're going to go into a more of not really a controversial, but a lot of people have been arguing the point for easy mode in games or difficulty in games. I have more of an unpopular opinion about this subject too, and I almost wrote an article about this, but I want to bring this to the podcast. So this is about difficulties in games, and before we jump into this, let's preface this that I nor Liz have ever beaten a From Software game. We've never been in Dark Souls, Bloodborne. We haven't even touched Sekiro. I have not beaten Cuphead because I wanted to throw my controller at the TV, so I put it down. So we're not advocates for difficult games. But let's talk about this. Liz, when a game is too difficult, what goes through your head?
I stopped playing it.
End of podcast, people. Thank you very much.
Whoa, I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Yikes.
No, like when a game is too difficult, I get very frustrated.
Yeah.
I think it goes into probably a little bit of low self-esteem when I can't accomplish a section, or if I fail a section, especially in a game where like if you fail it and you don't get to redo it, and like they're like, well, moving on.
Yeah.
And that affects the game. That really bothers me, and I usually end up getting too stressed out and putting it down because I'm like, whatever, I suck, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like there was where I am stopped currently in Beyond Two Souls. I couldn't get into the lair or whatever because I couldn't get past everyone. Yeah. And she had to leave, and I was like, that affects the game. Yeah. Like I literally, and I think something had glitched in my game where like I couldn't find the key card. Like I had checked, the person ended up being on, I had checked them already. Like I had walked around everywhere as this girl was slowly dying. Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, and I was so mad. I'm like, and now I don't get to that point because now my whole game is affected because I couldn't get into that room. And I'm just like, and I was so frustrated. I had already had a long day and I was so frustrated. I was like, forget it. I'm done. Put it down. So yeah, when there's like harder games that I can't get past, I get frustrated and put it away for a while. Even Last of Us, I'm getting better at it, but when it was getting too hard, I would get so frustrated. I would just hand the controller out and I'm like, get me past this. Actually, I did do that for a long time. I couldn't get past this level, and I was like, Adam, I need you to play and get me past this so I can play the rest of the game. Yeah. So that kind of became our thing with Last of Us. We kind of played together. Like, I play everything until I can't do it, and then I give it to Adam.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's the thing, though. It's like, I don't think you should call yourself, like, quote-unquote, a bad gamer because it's too difficult, you know?
Because you still enjoy video games.
Yeah, no, totally. And this is a perspective I think we should change in the gaming culture between games that are too difficult or just get good scrub or whatever. And I think, okay, so I didn't look up the quote, but I know he said this. But the developer or the lead designer behind the From Software games from Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, he once said that his games aren't for skilled gamers. This isn't for like a get good scrub. What he said that these games are for the people who are persistent. And I completely agree with him. When it comes to games though, I just don't have the time to be persistent in one game, you know? Now, when this whole like elitist gamer comes in like, oh, you're a bad gamer. Oh, maybe it's just too hard for you or blah, 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 like excuses. But the original designer behind these games said, no. Like, it's not that you're bad. It's not that you're not skilled. It's that, like, you need to be persistent. You know, you need to look out for the weaknesses. You need to look out for this. You can't just go in sword swinging. Yeah. It's a lot like life, where you think that life is too difficult, but life isn't difficult. You just need to be persistent in life. Yeah. You know? What do you think of that mindset in terms of difficult games? It's not about being skilled; it's about being persistent.
I don't know, because to me, like, I don't know, any gamer I've come in contact with, they all get extremely frustrated if they can't get past the level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've just never seen a gamer be so persistent that, like, they're okay with continuously failing in a game.
Well, I think that just goes into personalities.
Yeah.
You know, they're still driven. Like, me and you are completely different people. One of the things you see about me is that, like, I'm persistently stubborn, and I will just, like, beat my head against a wall until pretty much I get my way.
Yeah.
But you're a person that just says, I'm not trying to say, like, oh, you're a weak person, but you're the person that says, like, okay, that didn't work. I should find another path.
Yeah.
Whereas I will, like, no.
It has to be this way.
It has to be this way. I will be that dude in the train station trying to go through the wall to get to Hogwarts Express. And you're like, Adam, no.
We can just go through the toilet.
We can just go through the toilet. And like, no. It has to be here. But I think that games need to be just for the gamer's personality here.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think there should be this elitist way. But I like that mindset behind the director from Software Games is that this isn't for skilled players. This is for persistent players. Right. And I like that mindset. It takes away the elitism that like you're not good at it because you're a good gamer. You're good at it because that's just who you are. That's your personality. That's your difficulty. I also wrote down Cuphead also never felt unfair. Right.
Yeah.
It was merely a puzzle game.
Yeah.
You know, a puzzle game with the combat. I put it down because that's not something I want to be persistent with.
Yeah.
But I also wrote down on my notes here, speaking of puzzle games, a game like The Witness.
Yeah.
Right? Why isn't there an easy mode on The Witness? You know?
Yeah.
It's a difficult game in a different perspective.
Yeah.
There's difficulty in the combats and there's difficulty with the mind. Right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are just focusing on difficulty with combat and they ignore... Like, well, why doesn't games like The Witness or, what's that one game in space that's a strategy game? I lost it. But in strategy games and puzzle games, why don't these games have a quote-unquote easy mode?
Yeah.
You know? But what do you think of that perspective?
I agree with that because I was thinking before when you said, like, me and you are very different.
Yeah.
You always say that I live in the gray and you're very black and white.
Yes.
Which is why you have a harder time with those puzzle games than I do. Like, I love watching Adam play The Witness because he goes and goes and I'm like, honey, it's this. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
How did you know that?
Yikes.
Like, he gets so frustrated and I'm just like, it's not that hard. And like, even in like mentally gifted programs, we had a lot of those growing up in Philly in our public schools. We had mentally gifted programs. They tested for puzzles. You can know your math and spelling and everything easily, but can you do puzzles? Because they, you know, to be mentally gifted, you need to cover all the aspects. I'm sorry, I keep hitting my microphone and doing things. Yeah. But, so I think that's where that personality comes in. Like, you try the puzzle games because you want to be good at them, and they're difficult for you because that doesn't come natural to you. Yeah,
and she's right. I'm definitely the black and white mentality, and that's why I'm so bad at a game like The Witness because.
You're not terrible at it.
No, but that's the thing. The Witness, the puzzles are all about changing your perspective, living in that gray. Like, it's not a puzzle where you can just look at it and be like, oh, that's how you solve it. Yeah. And that's why I find difficulty with it because I need to change my perspective. In the same way with difficult games like From Software games or Cuphead or even Celeste, you know, it comes with perspective changes. You need to be persistent. It punishes you because you didn't pay attention to the lesson it's trying to teach you. Yeah. You know? But that's the same thing. I'm not sitting on the fence here. I think that developers need to just make the games that they want to make.
Yeah, because if they were interested, most developers, you don't make a game you wouldn't play. Right. So if you make a game that you want to play, chances are there are other people out there who also want to play a game like that. Yeah. You know, like you can't be the only one who wants a game like that.
Yeah.
So if you make a game that you want to play, then there will be people out there who want to play it. It might not be the masses. It might not be a game that takes over the entire gaming community.
Yeah.
But if you make a game that other people want to play, then you might not have as many customers, but you'll have more satisfied customers.
And that's the thing. It's like those kinds of people who play persistent style games. One, I don't think you should be an elitist. I don't think you should wear that as a badge. Like, well, I'm a better gamer than you because I play FromSoft. That's like me. I love spicy food. Like, bring it on. Like, especially with Indian food, I want my mouth on fire. I don't want to survive to see another day. You know.
Whereas I enjoy a little zing.
Yeah.
But more of like on the buffalo end.
Yeah.
Or like dipping it where I get to control it. Like I like a little bit. Whereas Adam, he wants it coated in like.
Yeah.
He wants, when he has something spicy, he wants it to be wet spicy, like covered. And I'm just like, oh, a little dip.
Yeah. I went to go through like an Indian tribal ritual where I get to see like ghosts coming out of my face.
Yeah.
Like kind of spicy. But that's the thing though. I don't go to other people with food and just say like, oh, you're only using salt and pepper, scrub, get good.
Yeah.
It's just that here's the thing, like I want my food the way I want my food, but I shouldn't be punished by people who use salt and pepper, like saying like, well, I want to try buffalo wings. Okay, well, then you should try buffalo wings, or you should try Indian food, not take out Indian food. I talk about real Indian food where it will set your face on fire, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with easy mode in From Software games. You're just saying like, well, I want to experience Sekiro. You can. You totally can. It's just about persistence, and putting it in easy mode will not solve anything because you're not experiencing the game that the game designers want you to do. They are trying to walk you through with a lesson. Yes, there's some characters in Dark Souls where you're just like, okay, that's some bull crap. But for most of the time, the game is so balanced and it's trying to show you that like, no. We're trying to show you, but you're going into it too like trigger happy. Yeah.
Well, that's like with me with The Last of Us. Like this is the first game I've played with combat style stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't good at it. So I knew I put it on easy mode, but it's still a hard game for me because it's not what I'm used to. Yeah. Like, even so, like you're saying, like, even if it does have that scale, it's still going to be difficult. Like, you know, like, I'm getting better at it, but having on easy mode hasn't helped. I still die a lot in The Last of Us.
Now, that's the other point I made. Like, there's some difficulty choices. Like, I appreciate games like From Software or From Software or The Witness, where there's no difficulty change. It's just like, here's the game. Good luck. But when there's like different difficulty changes, I wrote this down that some difficulties in some games differ from others. It's a lot like trying to buy a shirt. You know, I'm generally a medium shirt, but then like I'll get a medium from another brand. I'm like, is this a child's medium?
Yeah.
But in the same way with that, like you put normal on one game, but then you go on normal on like a Naughty Dog game.
Yeah. They're very different.
Yeah, it's completely different, right? Whereas something like a From Software game or The Witness, where there is no difficulty, this is the game. This is what you're getting yourself into. Yeah. You know, there is no easy mode. But that's the other point I wanted to make. Well, just to finish that out, you know, it doesn't matter if you put an easy mode on there. It's not going to be gauged in the same way.
The game is the game. The game is the game. Like, that's it.
And if you're going to make a quote unquote difficult game, but I like what the developer said. I know his name, but I can't remember how to pronounce it. So I'm just going to call him the developer From Software. Deal with it. But the mechanics and the controls of the game need to be on point. Like, there can't be any latency. There can't be any slow movement. There can't be every single mechanic and development of the game and the controls, they need to be pristine, right? Yeah. Because that will make the game unfair, right? The one thing I loved about Cuphead is that whenever I died, or even Celeste, like with Celeste or Battletoads or even Contra, all these games had pristine controls, and you just put that on a controller, and I blamed myself because the controls are so pristine, you know, especially like Celeste. Celeste, whenever you do the jump movements, like I knew how to do it, but I just wasn't executing it well.
Yeah.
And I never blamed the game for it. It was just that I was blaming myself. And that you can tell is a good, difficult game, is that the controls and the mechanics of the game are pristine. They're on point. There's no latency. You should be blaming yourself whenever you die, not the developer, right? And I'm not trying to shame you as a gamer, right? To say that like, oh, if you can't do it, you should blame yourself. But that's what these games want you to do.
Yeah.
They want you to learn. They want you to get better.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like learning a sport, you know?
Yeah.
You're not going to go on the basketball court and just dunk immediately.
Yeah.
You need to be persistent. You need to put time in, you know? And I think these games can be like a sport sometimes.
Yeah.
You need to,
Like games have always said that games are supposed to help your hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
You're not going to go in unless you already have good hand-eye coordination.
Right.
But even if you do, it's still going to help build that. So even if you go in not doing so well, you'll eventually start getting there and get better, and you'll get a little faster, and you'll remember what button does what, and you won't have to look or think so much.
Yeah.
I know I keep going back to The Last of Us, but like I said, that's my first experience with combat in a video game.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better at it. I need Adam less and less to help me through a fight.
Yeah.
You know, so it's those things where it's like, even if it doesn't have an easy mode or anything, like, you'll eventually get there. It might take you a while, but you'll get there.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about From Software games. I've never beaten one, but that's because I didn't put the time in. That's what I don't have the time for. You need to go into it with a different perspective, both with the elitist gamer saying that like, oh, I'm so good, I'm just so great at this. Like, no, you're not. You were just persistent with it. You put in your time. And the same thing with people who say like, oh, it needs an easy mode. I can't do this without an easy mode. You just need to put in the time. And I just thought of it on the spot with this sports thing, but it's a lot like skateboarding, you know? You can't just say like, oh, I can't do an ollie. So like, oh, skateboarding needs an easy mode, which there are. They're called skater trainers. But like, no, you just need to put in a time. You need to put in the effort, right?
Yeah.
You need to look at yourself like, okay, am I doing this right? Go on YouTube. Like, how's the proper ollie supposed to look like? Am I doing things right? Same thing with Sekiro, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Cuphead, Celeste, Contra, Battletoads, all the other games, Witness. These are all games where are you blaming the developers because you didn't put in the time? And again, I'm really trying not to shame the gamers like, oh, get good, scrub. But it really is.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm putting in a way of not like elitist gamers like, oh, you just need to get good. No, it's just that it's just like any other sport. You need to put in the time. You need to put in the effort. You need to look for your mistakes and improve yourself, you know? But me and Liz, we don't want to improve ourselves when we come to gaming. We want to relax with gaming. So the games aren't for us.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to buy Sekiro someday when it goes on sale. Any other thoughts on this?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think we kind of said our piece on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is like what we're trying to say with this is, a message to both sides here.
Yeah.
You shouldn't wear it like a badge of honor. In the same way, like if you go to a skate park and you don't know how to skateboard, are you going to continue skateboarding when like people like other skaters are just like, oh, get good, scrub. I don't know why I did that.
What was that?
Get good, scrub. Because you don't know how to ollie. No, you would continue skating. Right, you'll continue skating when other skaters are just like, "Hey, man, like I'm just so glad you're getting into the sport. You're perfecting yourself. Can I give you some tips? Can I help you out? Like being a good person to the person coming into the skate park. Same thing with difficult games. Don't look at them like, oh, why aren't you so good? Say like, hey, man, I really want to help you out here. This is such a great world, and you feel great about yourself when you beat a boss here.
Yeah.
Can I help you out? I love how you're getting into these games.
Yeah.
Not an easy mode. And that's the other thing on the other side saying like, oh, it needs an easy mode. It needs an easy mode. No, you need to understand what the developer is trying to communicate to you, what
Mhm.
lessons they're trying to give you, what your mistakes are.
Yeah.
Because if you put it in easy mode, it's a lot like life. There's no easy mode in life. You need to be persistent and look for mistakes and going pursuing other things, pursuing other paths.
Yeah.
Whenever you go to a boss and you're just a trigger happy, you need to go into different paths.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient, parry, right? And that's the thing about these games is that I don't think an easy mode is the right answer. I think the persistence and the lessons learned and putting in the time, that's what the beauty of these games are.
Yeah.
But again, as we close out this topic, we still have not beaten a From Software. I have not beaten Cuphead. I've beaten Celeste.
You did.
But I may have used assist mode on the last level. I'm not going to say if I did or not, but I definitely did. But I didn't use assist mode until I got to the last part of the level, and I was just so exhausted. And it's like, okay, now you're at Celeste Mountain. Climb to the top, and I was like looking how long it was. I'm like, all right, assist mode, please. Thank you very much. We're just going to breeze this through. All right, I beat the game. Woohoo! But that's the thing. When I got to the top, I didn't feel satisfied though.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I didn't put in the work. I didn't put in the time. I didn't put in the effort because I just put on the assist mode. But I put in the time with all the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy your games, but there's some games where
It's just not for you.
I won't even say that. Like if you don't, if it's not going to give you pleasure, if it's not going to give you pleasure to be persistent.
Yeah.
Because like I don't want to be the other side where saying like, oh, it's not for you, scrub.
Well, no.
I know what you're saying, though,
yeah.
but yeah, what were you trying to say?
No, like I was just saying, like, if you're not finding joy in the game and you don't want to go through that struggle of trying, you're like us, you just want to enjoy a game and relax with it, then it's not for you. Like, not every game needs to be for you.
Yeah, I have put down Cuphead, and I will probably never play it ever in my life.
Nope.
I got halfway through it, and I'm like, no, thank you.
That's good enough.
Yeah, I'll just continue playing Gears of War. Thank you very much. I think we can wrap up this discussion.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. This is a conversation. This is a discussion. And we hope that you continue this conversation. We know that our, generally our takes on this isn't the most popular one where like, okay, easy mode isn't the answer, but it gets the conversation started. And that's what this podcast is all about. Getting a conversation started instead of just yelling each other at Twitter. Let's talk, let's have opinions. Woohoo, opinions. Aren't they so great? But yeah, let's close this out. We just want to give one final shout out to our social media pages. Definitely follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries or follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
So you can follow us there.